Hi, this is Anthony Howe with TechCrunch, and I'm here with Peter Phillips and Arun Singh from Marvel, specifically the digital side, and they're going to show us some cool new technology. The first one is going to be something called Project Gamma, and yeah, what's sort of the short version of what is Project Gamma?
So Project Gamma is what we're calling an adaptive audio experience. So it basically scores music to the pace that you read a digital comic. It's in what we're calling Marvel Labs. So it's a test build right now. It's going to be released later this year, and it allows us to pace the music to your reading experience. So if you and I were sitting next to one another, you would get themed music that adapts itself to both the storyline and the characters, and it would go at the pace at which you were reading or I was reading. So we wouldn't get the same experience depending on our pace of reading.
So yeah, I have some more questions, but let's see it in action. So
Do you want to talk about
tell us a little
Yeah.
bit of what we're seeing.
Sure. So basically, well, you can hear it, but so as you're going through the story, this is music that was scored specifically for this storyline. So as our reader is going through, this is chosen directly for these characters, and what we're trying to do is enhance the experience that the reader gets when he or she is experiencing this digital comic. And you can hear that the music will change. It may speed up depending on how fast you're reading. And what's important is that it is queued up to the different panels that you're going through. So basically, your experience in reading this digital comic may be different than the person next to you, depending on how fast you read.
So I noticed it's not like the experience of like playing a game where like you might go into a different room and it's a completely different. It's
Right.
like it seems like one piece of music that sort of then is sort of customized to how you're reading it.
It's funny you say that. It's very similar to playing a game in the sense that the engine that powers this is a gaming engine. So what it does is it basically queues itself up to different important pieces in the story. So you may hear different pieces of recognizable music throughout the story that are important to the storyline. But it's like a game in the sense that maybe you were playing a video game and you hit a part in the game where a certain important piece of music would enter because you were in a battle or you were seeing a key character. So that has that's a good parallel. Those are very similar.
And so what was the sort of initial inspiration that you, man, this comic is great, but what it really needs is some music?
House of ideas. So I mean, Marvel, we're always enhancing people's experience. So you'll notice last year we talked about Marvel AR, augmented reality. We've done Infinite Comics. So we're always trying to come out with different initiatives for the reader. This year we're here at South by Southwest to talk about a lot of new things, and we're not afraid to fail. We want to show that we're looking to be innovative and different and enhance the experience. And we think this is one of several things that we can do that'll really make the digital comics reading experience exciting.
And I mean, I think one of the things we were talking about before was also this idea of not, that it still feels like the comics reading experience, and sort of, in contrast to something like motion comics.
Right.
It still is like, it sort of complements it in a more sort of subtle way.
Yeah, it's subtle. I mean, it's subtle in that it's not having a piece of music sitting on stereo behind you while you're reading something, right? So it's queued up, like we said, to the story. So it paces itself. I've repeated that a couple times because it's such an important facet of this experience. But it's not a emotion comic, to your point. It's not animation, so that's where they differ.
And so you were saying this coming out of sort of labs. It's still kind of experimental. Correct. So I mean, anything more you can say in terms of when consumers might actually be able to play with this?
This year, definitely.
Okay.
If our editor-in-chief were here, he would say that he's got specific stories that he's already thinking about for this. In terms of exactly when, we haven't determined that yet for the public.
Right. And so you guys actually, not only are you sort of announcing or showing off, Project Gamma, but you actually have a new app, which
yes.
we launched just a couple days ago,
yes.
Which is Marvel Unlimited.
Marvel Unlimited.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So we launched our comic subscription service, digital comic subscription service, in 2007. This is a very important and needed update to that product. It is really a combination of two things. It's feedback from the fans saying we want more, we want better, and it is us using what we think is the latest in technologies. It has over 13,000 digitized comics, back issues that we are making available. It's a streaming service. So you have access on your desktop, you have access on your smart device, and you also can download an app which is went live in iOS this week, so for your iOS device. If you are connected, you can read through the 13,000 plus digital comics. If you are going to be in a disconnected environment, let's say you're going to be underground on the train or you're going to be in the air, you can put up to 6 comics at a time in your library, which is enough for a trade, and read them offline.
So did you do some offline reading when you were flying over to Austin?
Of course.
What were you reading?
I'm actually polishing up my back issues of Iron Man, old Iron Man stuff, because we got a big film coming out in a couple months. So.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's some guy, costume, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And so, do you have a sense of like the kind of person who would, be a subscriber, through this service versus, just doing sort of the a la carte issue service through something like the Marvel, or Comixology?
Well, a smart one. But, they're two very different offerings, and they really work together. I wouldn't, it's not either or. The question is, how do they work together? You'll notice, as Arun is showing you, that you can click on an individual story, an individual book, and go into the Marvel Comics app and buy it. So we've purposely made them so they can work together. Mm-hmm. So the crossover between the two isn't that great, and that's why what we really wanted to do was create an ecosystem for digital comics readers that allowed them to enjoy both an unlimited catalog of back issues as well as download individual, not only up to date through the Marvel Comics app, but even back issues which are available in that app too. So there's a lot of crossover in terms of the issues themselves, but they're not duplicative completely or anything like that. It's definitely worth having both.
Mm-hmm. And so, now that you guys, as you continue to sort of roll out new stuff on digital, how is sort of the creative, response to that, in the sense of like, do you find that writers and artists are thinking more and more about how the comic looks on an iPad or on another device, or do you feel like they still think of the physical object?
I mean, it varies, I would say, by writer and creator. I mean, I'm probably not the best person to ask. I'm a good person to ask. I would say that, we have the Infinite Comics line that we launched last year, and that's an important initiative because it's digital first, and digital's here to stay. That's clear in the comics world, and it's been a very important initiative for us, and it's been an incredibly fast-growing part of the digital publishing area for Marvel. So we really think about how can people enjoy this, and that's why we put so much time and effort behind what the experience is. It's definitely a place that we've invested a lot of time and money and effort, and it's really for the fans. You can see that a lot of what we're offering is about, improving the experience.
So as the head of, as somebody who's like, spearheading a lot of the digital stuff that Marvel's doing,
Yeah.
Do you still ever make it into a comic shop?
Yeah, I always do. I never tell them who I am, though.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.